Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another week of TechRise. This week is our health tech theme, and we are really excited to get started. But before we do that, I just want to introduce myself to those of you who are not familiar with TechRise. I am Desiree Vargas Wrigley, our executive director, and TechRise by P33 is an initiative in partnership with Verizon to help support Chicago's Black and Latinx founders all the way from idea stage to exit. So every week we have 3 to 5 founders take the stage. They pitch their businesses in front of 3 judges who then ask about 3 to 4 questions. And then those judges deliberate live and choose a winner at the very end. So stay tuned until the end because that's the most exciting part. And this week is especially important and exciting because it's our first big prize. So this week we are doing a $50,000 prize thanks to the generosity of Oak Street Health and Mike Pykosz, who's joining us today later as a deliberation guest. And why that matters so much is that $50,000 can actually be the difference between building an MVP or not. Most white founders in Chicago start with access to somewhere around $110,000 in capital. But most Black and Latinx founders start with somewhere between $5,000 and $35,000. So a $50,000 non-dilutive investment is truly the difference between getting started and not in some cases. But it can also mean the difference between having the confidence to hire your first full-time staff or even a full-time developer, or it can extend your runway as a seed stage founder 2, 3, 4 months, which allows you to get more traction and bring on better investors at better valuations and ultimately impacts your long-term return as a founder. So it is our goal to make sure that in the future, TechRises, all of 2022, hopefully in 23, that our prizes go up to $50,000 so that we can have that kind of impact on the founders that come across the stage. And so there's a few ways that you can help us get there. Of course, one is to donate personally. You can do that at techrise.co/donate. And then the other is to talk to your companies, talk to any family foundations or really take a look at your own philanthropic goals and ask yourself if equity in startups is really one of your priorities. And if so, we would love to talk to you. You can email us at info@techrise.co. And then, of course, we're always looking for wonderful founders to bring on stage and bring visibility to your businesses. So you can apply anytime. We will be running applications through the end of this year, and then we'll start up again in February. So it's never too late to apply. It's techrise.co/apply, and we cannot wait to have you come on here and build your dreams. So now I am thrilled to introduce our judges for today. First, we have Rachel Stillman, Senior Associate at 7Wire. Rachel's prior experience in venture capital includes her time at Cure Ventures, Israel's first exclusively focused digital health fund. And prior to that, Rachel's career in venture capital, she worked in the healthcare group at MB Financial Bank, where she advised and supported healthcare organizations and healthcare service providers with their financing and risk management needs. So Rachel, thanks so much for being here. Next,
thanks so much for having me.
Oh, great. Next, we have Jennifer Freed. She's CEO and co-founder of Explorer Surgical, and she's also a venture partner at the Fund Midwest. Jennifer founded her company with Dr. Alex Langerman as an MBA student at the University of Chicago's Booth School of Business, where she received her degree with honors in finance and entrepreneurship. And before that, Jennifer was vice president at Park Lane Ventures, a healthcare-focused venture capital fund spun out of Essex Woodland. So lots of relevant experience here. And she also started her career as a consultant at Bain after graduating from Northwestern. So really amazing, strong Chicago ties too. It's great to have you, Jennifer. And then, do you want me to call you Jen or Jennifer, by the way? Does it matter? Okay.
Jennifer's totally fine.
Great. And then our final judge is Deepa Sheth. She's SVP of Partnerships and Business Development at Oak Street Health. In this role, she leads the company's M&A function, the design and implementation of new lines of businesses and strategic partnerships, and is the general manager of Oak Street's Walmart partnership business. Previous to Oak Street, she held various roles at Shire Baxter, product management, go-to-market strategy. She was at OCA Ventures on the investment team and CSRA Consulting. Along with these roles, she worked as a consultant and mentored to several early stage health tech companies. So welcome to all of the amazing women that are here in health tech that are here to judge. It's our first all women judging panel, and I am thrilled about that. So thank you so much for making the time for these founders. All right, and so without further ado, we are ready to bring our first founder on stage. So first we have ConnectCareHero, and we have Osvaldo Montelongo.
All right, can everyone see me?
We can see you and we can see your desktop. So
perfect. Can you see my presentation now?
Yep, you're good to go.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Osvaldo. I'm the CEO and founder of ConnectCareHero, and we're helping organizations tackle social isolation and loneliness at scale. / Peloton for older adults 65 plus, where we help organizations tackle social isolation through culturally relevant activity programming. We are an entertainment and engagement tracking platform that helps organizations tackle social isolation through data. We're an all-in-one platform for driving social engagement for older adults. And what makes us unique is our very own proprietary virtual rooms that helps collect extra, more critical data for organizations. Now you can say goodbye to Facebook Live and Zoom sessions. What makes us unique is our vendor network. We have one of the largest networks of talent on our platform that cover over 20 unique categories that include mariachi sessions, cooking shows that are Afro, Latin, Asian inspired, and much more. We have over 9 different languages we offer our classes in, and our content is available in short and long formats, and it's always refreshed with seasonal content. Here's some of our many talents that we offer on our platform that our older adults can get access to and have great experiences. One of the things we pride ourselves in is the ease of access to our content. Whether you can access our content with any platform on our system. So whether you're an adult living in your home or part of a senior living community, you can get access via text or email with one-click access. Our core product is our proprietary virtual rooms, where we provide a secure and fun space for older adults to connect and while collecting key data such as customizable questions, activity attendance, length of engagement, and much more. And what we're most excited about in partnering up with any organization is our new daily automated invitations, which allow organizations to send daily reminders of their activity portals via text or email to older adults. They can get easy access. They can get in 3 simple steps. They can get a reminder, say at 8 in the morning, saying, "Hi, Jimmy, click here to view your daily programming." Then they log in, and then they'll get access to enjoy live and pre-recorded content. And we report back all the data and notify organizations of any at-risk populations based off our analytics. So I want to give a quick thanks for TechRise and also Oak Street Health for the opportunity to present. And we'd love to continue any chats offline if you're interested in learning how we can help keep your population healthy and socially active. Thank you.
Great. We'll bring the judges on now to ask some questions.
Yeah, I can go first. Could you share more about what customer discovery you've done to date with the population that you're going after?
Yeah, so we work right now with home care organizations, but also senior living communities, skilled nursing facilities, where they get access to our programming. Right now, we've serviced over 2,100 older adults on our platform, have over 380,000 activities tracked on our systems. But yeah, so we've been able to validate and also know that it is something that older adults can access via email and text.
As well, just so you know, we are having a little bit of a connectivity issue, I think, with you. So you might want to speak a little more slowly just in case that there's a lag. All right, Rachel, you'll go next.
Great, awesome. Thanks so much for the thoughtful presentation. Would love to learn a little bit about some of the health outcomes you're collecting today. I know you shared some of the initial metrics. How do you think about translating these to kind of clinical outcomes and then ultimately proving a clear ROI case for your enterprise clients?
Yeah, so the way we view it now is keeping an older adult socially engaged is super important. So we collect how many times they're in sessions, what they're if any organization has a clinical question or just a simple question such as, "Hey, how did you sleep last night?" We report that back to the organization. So over time, they can see trends that are happening. So we provide that through our virtual rooms that we have. long term, we want to partner up with an organization such as Oak Tree Health or any other group that wants to really kind of partner up with us to kind of refine that methodology and also the clinical side of it.
Hey, Osvaldo, thanks so much for the presentation. I was curious if you could describe a little bit of what you anticipate your revenue model to look like, and if it's on monetizing the data, how you plan to do that.
At the stage we're at right now, we are just doing a licensing fee to get access to our platform. So it's based off number of older adults an organization has. As we move forward, we're looking to kind of get some guidance and expertise to look to maybe do like a per member per month, or just only charging if we actually engage their population. But for now, we are just doing a licensing fee. Hopefully that answers the question.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Yep.
We actually have time for another question if anyone has another one.
Sure, I'd love to learn about, we've seen a plethora of solutions in this market taking, various in-person or digital approaches to combating isolation and loneliness. Who do you see as your key competitors, and how do you think about building a long-term competitive moat?
Yeah, so I think one of the way we see ourselves in the space, how we position ourselves uniquely is more from the really culturally relevant, highly curated activity programming. So one thing we say is we're really culturally enriching. Some competitors we see in the space are, groups that are trying to go after the Medicare, Medicaid, probably dollars. Eventually, we want to see how we can play in that space or partner up with some organizations that do that based on our content, but also our virtual rooms. Some players are, that are providing static content. We provide all live content.
If there's not any more questions, then we'll say thank you. Good job, Osvaldo. And next we're going to, I should go back to video on. You guys can go video off, sorry. Next we are going to invite Isaac Chadri from Dawatek onto the stage.
All right, thank you.
You can see your screen.
All right, thank you. So this pandemic has highlighted a key issue within the healthcare system that everyone has already experienced, either in a clinic or in an ER very similar to this. And that is that there is a testing bottleneck, which increases the time to get a diagnosis. I actually experienced this firsthand while working in the ER as a volunteer lab and ER tech. And part of my job was to literally explain to patients that the reason they're sitting in there for over an hour is that the doctor's waiting for the lab results. In fact, out of the ER, diagnosing a disease takes 2 to 8 days. And this is mostly because the time to set up and actually run a PCR takes a long time. And then biopsies tend to take days to complete. So after that, the physician then has 2 options. Either they do nothing, or they overprescribe medication until they actually get the results. So our solution to this problem is the rapid testing kit, which can give a diagnosis of a disease in 5 minutes in 3 simple steps. First, you get the saliva, then we add the nanoparticles, and then we scan. We use a proprietary machine learning algorithm to diagnose the disease, and we use Raman spectroscopy, a proven technology, to get the data. For those that don't know, Raman spectroscopy is a chemical analysis that uses a laser to shine out a sample and detect the various molecular vibrations or chemical signature. Our machine learning algorithm uses that chemical signature to classify different diseases. Our market size is a $26 billion market, at which stage we would diagnose several diseases like skin cancer, meningitis, and Alzheimer's. However, initially we will start with infectious diseases like COVID-19 strain differentiation, flu, HPV, and STDs. We have a regional go-to-market strategy that starts with the direct primary care clinics. We picked them because, first, the business model fits with ours, and they help us collect data to show insurers that our device is actually effective. And we've been able to demonstrate product market fit with the letter of intent from an actual Chicago clinic. We will have a monthly subscription service for disease bundles. So for example, for the infectious diseases, you'll pay $1,000 per month, and this includes the price of the device itself. Our main competitors use PCR, which I've already explained, makes their test significantly slower, and the average device actually goes between $75,000 and $200,000, which is 20 times more than our actual device. So far, we've raised $37,000. We've built 2 prototypes that can test for bacteria with a 95% accuracy, test for COVID-19 with a 90% accuracy. And with the help of TechRise, we can build an MVP using mHub's facilities. This will then be used for our upcoming IRB study, which we are doing in collaboration with Northern Arizona University. So why now? There is an absolute need for fast and accurate testing for other diseases as well as COVID-19, thanks in part to the pandemic. And the technology that we use has decreased in price and size over the years to the point where clinicians can actually afford it. And by having software actually diagnose the disease, we can easily scale to meet the healthcare sector's growing need of rapid testing at the point of care. So far, we have a well-balanced team that is Chicago educated and has the experience necessary to build the device. And we have an advisory board that can easily guide us through the healthcare system. So here's how we envision the world in the future. For patients, there will no longer be wait times to be seen or for a diagnosis. And for providers, they'll have an increased revenue because they see more patients in the same amount of time, and they will also give the same amount of care. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions regarding the science or regulatory pathway, feel free to ask me. Thank you.
Great, we'll bring the judges on for some questions.
Hi, Isaac. Two-part question. So first, just for clarification purposes, the diagnostic itself is solely doing molecular, is that right? Or is it also capable of handling clinical chemistry or immunoassay? Just maybe talk to me a little bit about the type of test you're running.
So for right now, it is molecular. We're looking, for example, if you look at a virus, we are detecting like the spike proteins and looking at the chemical signature of that. We can go and do more deep chemical analysis because that's the normal way it's been used. But for now, we want to focus on pathogen testing and detection.
Got it. Okay, helpful. And then, again, we've seen a lot of kind of point of care diagnostics, right, in the market today, focusing on molecular. Maybe talk to me about, what is it about either the science or the workflow that makes your diagnostic superior to the other players in the space?
Of course, let's use PCR as the standard because that's what people normally use. PCR in general, let's assume this is the cell. PCR has to open the actual cell and then go and get the actual DNA or RNA, and you have to do whatever process and enzymes to open the cell and do that. Whereas we just detect the outside. So it makes our process significantly simpler. And 2, we don't need to amplify anything. Whatever sample is there, we don't need to grow the bacteria more or grow the virus more like you do for the PCR and for we just detect it as is with the same viral load. And we're able to show this with our proof of concept study on COVID-19 and the bacteria, where we detected as is without any extra growth period for the samples.
Thank you.
Hi, I was wondering if you could share a little bit more about some of the research that you're doing and maybe your background. I saw that you have your degree in chemistry. Can you talk about your research focus and then also some of the kind of upcoming research that you have through SPI or otherwise?
Of course. So my research focus and what I did a lot of my studies on is on Raman spectroscopy, and specifically the subset of spectroscopy we're using, which is surface enhanced Raman spectroscopy. To put it simply, if the laser looks at a sample like this and gets the frequency that vibrates out of it, what we then sometimes in water, like in water-based substances, vibrations don't go through well. So essentially what you need some particulates to amplify that signal. So my research in undergraduate, when I developed labs for the physical chemistry courses for 2 universities, was to develop the process where you have the nanoparticle actually attach and amplify that signal out. So what our future research is actually going to do, for example, with the Northern Arizona University, they have used the same approach we are, but they like our approach better than what they initially did, which was they had they needed a lot of large equipment to be able to run this. And we've figured out how to use a very small basically cell phone-based camera to actually analyze this. So our research right now will be used on, can we detect the different spike proteins and the different mutations in them, and then be able to characterize those differences using machine learning.
I want to get Deepa in with a question. Sorry, I want to get Deepa in for a question too. So.
Well, kind of related to that, Isaac. So is the outcome more specific or more sensitive than a PCR? Or is that ultimately the differentiation with this type of molecular testing?
Yes, so far there have been studies, for example, the paper we reference our application was where they compared using PCR to detect for different variants of flu, and then the same Raman spectroscopy to do the exact same thing. And it was able to have the same at 98% efficacy. So what we aim to do in our IRB study is show that our device can do the same thing with a standard spectrometer and with a PCR to prove that we are as good, if not better.
All right, great job, Isaac. Thanks so much. And Peter, I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to answer questions, but Peter, one of your co-founders is here. It's great to see you. And next we are going to invite Strength Together and Emmanuel Thompson to the stage.
Hi, how are you? Can you see me?
We can.
Everything looking good?
Yep, we see your screen. We're good.
Hello, everyone. My name is Emmanuel Thompson, CEO of Strength Together LLC, a mental health company that constantly supports unsupported teens. Suicide is the fourth leading cause of death for teenagers. As teens, we're building this app because people actively invested in us. When we were upset, we had a support system that came in to help. But as I looked around in my high school, I saw a lot of students like Cameron. They visibly struggled. They were set up on their own lonely little islands and no one was sailing in to help them. So when I finally reached out to try to be a friend to Cameron, he had been alone for so long that when I did, he broke down and cried. This led me to recommend him to my school counselor, but in the back of my mind, I always wondered why I just didn't go there in the first place. We're finding this because young people are under-resourced. How do we know this? Well, check the news. In a 2021 NPR article written by a professor of pediatrics at Brown University, it was said that across the country, there are an increased number of serious suicidal attempts and suicidal deaths. Mental illness was already a pandemic before the coronavirus outbreak, and now our already struggling youth are being stepped on by truly indomitable circumstances. And they need our help. So how can we better assist teens' mental health needs? Well, with our app, Strength Together. It's a mental health app made by teens for teens. It utilizes artificial intelligence to prioritize the health needs of struggling youth. By having teens download our app on their mobile devices, the AI engages the students in conversations. Through conversations with the AI, encrypted information is then sent to their designated therapist. Therapists then have a chance to review a summary of those important details alongside a risk assessment tool. And this personalized and targeted support system can be accessed anywhere, anytime, with the tap of a button. If you weren't already aware, the digital health app market is booming. According to Statista.com, the digital health app market hit $175 billion in 2019 and expected to hit $660 billion in 2025. We plan to capture this market by allocating 20,000 of our winnings, establishing a brand in social media, while simultaneously optimizing our SEO on our blogs and websites. We'll also go ahead and take our core marketing strategies by leveraging ClickFunnels and increase sales and downloads. Now, for all intents and purposes, an app like this should cost well over $1 million. With only $4,000, we will build out a functional MVP, work with World Business Chicago, and secure a partnership with Ursa Behavioral Health Management. And now with $50,000, be able to create a fully structured front end and back end, acquire over 4,000 new users, and secure a partnership with a sales partnership with Lombardi East High School. Our main competitors are other apps like Headspace, Robot, and BetterHelp. These are great apps, but according to an interview with one of our industry's leaders, apps like BetterHelp fundamentally lack the staying power that Strength Together provides, as they're unable to provide structured patient updates and properly meet the needs of their users. But why us? As teens, we're in it. We are the demographic that's carrying this weight, and no one knows this pain better than us. I spent the better part of my teens working with startups like the Gray Matter Experience and Mindpeace Strategies and Norify, by teaching me how to effectively run and manage a company. But And with not only that, but I have a co-founder. His name is David Gottlieb. And he's a student at Roseholden Institute of Technology, and he researches AI. With a team like this, I know there's nothing that can stop us from changing the world. Being able to be there for my friend Cameron daily and having support of trained professionals visibly changed his life. He's able to meet new people, make new friends, and get suicide out of his vocabulary. So that's why we're strength together. Our goal is to replicate this on a much wider scale, make sure people know they're not alone because there's strength together.
Great job. Okay, so I'll invite the judges on now to ask some questions.
Hey, Emmanuel, so if you could clarify something. So you're saying that you're taking this information and sharing it with therapists and mental health providers. Are you creating a network of mental health providers as well as part of this, or how are you establishing those provider relationships?
Yeah, again, at the moment we're partnering with Ursa Behavioral Health Management, and the idea is to take their users and connect them to their therapists. The problem is that currently a lot of therapists, they only get to see their patient for once or twice a week. But we're putting together, they get updates on how the patient is doing throughout the weeks. So again, but there's an opportunity to partner with more firms and just connect and make sure people are supported.
And is there reimbursement that's available for reading that information when it's sent to the provider? How are they compensated for that time?
Yeah, so that's all handled through the firm. We partner with the firms and we just enhance our own technologies. We don't really work with the therapist directly. It's more of just kind of sending them all the information to the therapist instead of that. We don't really handle the therapist payment.
Okay, thank you.
And so, Emmanuel, maybe talk to me a little bit about how you are sending that bidirectional information with the therapist. I know some use an EMR, some document their notes on pen and paper today, right? So how do you think about kind of streamlining communications and what level of workflow augmentation is required?
Yeah, okay. So again, students, they download the app on their phones and then they talk with the AI. And then the AI then summarizes all their conversations and it sends all the little important key details, like if someone said their dog died or my father's hitting me, all that information will be sent to their therapist and ranked and summarized. So a lot of those important details will be sent to the top, unless they're important information like, I don't know, I tripped and fell today, that would be sent to the bottom. And the therapist would then have will then be sent like a sheet on their mobile devices or on their tablets. They can then review all that information.
Got it. So the therapist downloads your app and the information is housed in a separate application.
Yeah, it's all on our database. That's encrypted, by the way.
Got it.
None of that information can be leaked there.
Got it. Okay, helpful. Thank you.
Hey, Emmanuel, thanks so much for the pitch. Have you thought about connecting with payers as partners in this as well, as a way to access larger pools of behavioral health therapists and kind of other mental health groups?
I have not. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that, what that means?
Yeah, so thinking about kind of tapping into payer networks, just to be able to access more behavioral health therapists, since it seems like that, if I'm understanding correctly, that's kind of the way that you're going to be able to connect the dots between the participant or the member that's using the app and their therapist that's getting the service, just as a way to grow membership.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that, but that sounds like a great idea. It's something I'll definitely look into.
Okay, well, great job, Emmanuel. David, it's nice to see you on screen. Also, great to see co-founders whenever we can. And next, I am going to invite LiveEquipd onto the stage and Andre Johnson.
Thank you. Can you see my presentation?
We can see it. You're ready. We're ready whenever you are.
All right. Got it. All right. Hi. In 2004, my life took an unexpected turn. After celebrating a win in a basketball tournament, my best friend and I were victims of a violent carjacking. Both my friend and I were shot multiple times. The aftermath left me with a spinal cord injury and my best friend deceased, forever changing my life. Overnight, I went from an able-bodied young man to losing the ability to walk. And apart from that, what was really frustrating was the lack of quality tools and resources available to me and those caring for me at the point where I needed it most. And I'm not alone in this frustration. Over 8 million people in the US have a paralysis-related disability. And that number continues to grow and will explode with the influx of aging adults who will add to the same demands for equipment, supplies, and other services. This revelation inspired me to launch LiveEquipd, where we help organizations get the equipment and supplies their patients need for the recovery journey. Some key problems are rehospitalization for things like urological issues, skin ulcers, and muscular issues that are directly affected by inadequate equipment and supplies used. Also, the lack of visibility to insurance-approved suppliers that can provide the products on time, preventing delayed discharges. And lastly, the mental health hurdles that 20 to 30% of individuals with spinal cord injuries alone face in post-acute care. We combat these problems with our platform for organizations to streamline equipment procurement workflow and produce healthy outcomes. We start with our equipment procurement tool, which allows equipment coordination from hospital entry to post-acute care follow-up. We support that with our supplier marketplace, which provides a database of insurance-approved suppliers for quicker engagement and results. And lastly, our outcome tracker. We use this to capture population wellness metrics in post-acute care and tie up this whole fragmented process. The total addressable market for DME alone was $52 billion just last year and is expected to reach $83 billion in 2028. 61 million people in the US currently have disabilities, and we're focusing on 14% of those individuals that have mobility and paralysis-related disabilities. That equates to about $7 million as a total market, and we're focused on the primary products that you take home. Our business model, very simple. B2B SaaS subscription model, charging for 5 bundle users per month, and we grow as the size of the organizations grow. There are other revenue streams we're forecasting at the moment, but right now we're focused on our B2B clients. Our go-to-market strategy is to move our prototype into the MVP build in October as we acquire supplier partnerships through expos and additional funding. We'll prepare for our first pilot and look to go with that on January 1. In this space, we've studied our competitors and found out what's missing. It's a product designed for the nuance of equipment procuring. LiveEquipd is picking up steam. It started with a social enterprise donation with Uber. Last year, we got a grant from Westside United, which is funded by 4 local hospitals serving underserved communities. Most recently, we secured an LOI from the Shirley Ryan Ability Lab, the top physical medicine and rehabilitation hospital in the country. We're currently in talks with Schwab Rehab and UI Health and making great gains during COVID. And we just received another grant for entrepreneurs with spinal cord injuries making business. Here's the team. This team is helping me get LiveEquipd built. This team brings over 30 years of experience in healthcare, business, and technology, and ready to go. To conclude, all that stands in our way is an investment in our mission. LiveEquipd is here to improve the journey to recovery for my community and to allow them to live equipped for life. Thank you.
Great. And now we will invite the judges on. You can take your presentation mode off.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Technical difficulty. Where'd it go? All right, I'll stop sharing. Oops.
All right, good to go on questions.
There it is. Now we can stop. And slideshow. There it is. Is it off?
We're good. Yeah.
Okay.
Rachel, you want to start?
Go ahead.
Sure, happy to kick off. Would love to learn a little bit about how you're thinking through kind of creating reoccurring revenue streams with some of your partnerships. I know right now it's a pretty much a transaction-based model, but would love to learn how does that model evolve over time such that you can capture additional value.
Oh yes, so some of the forecasted revenue is on the supplier side when we engage them, because they look for the contact with healthcare organizations, especially with the DME space. So through our dashboard use for them and additional metrics as far as charging that we're projecting for them. And then we also look at the benefit to health plans. Those are things that we look at as far as if patients are getting the right equipment to start, then that limits the opportunity to come back for rehospitalization and other issues. So we are forecasting some things, but right now we're focused on the data and the information as it relates to the organization, making them work efficiently, and then we'll just grow from there. Hope that answered the question. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Andre. I'm curious what you've used your current funding on and what you would use this potential prize money for.
Yes, so the previous funds were utilized to really just build out. As a fresh entrepreneur, I kind of went through some things as far as building out some similar prototypes, but then allowing to kind of rebuild. And now what I found is that I understand the space where it's needed most, the product and how it'll serve. And so with these additional funds, it'll allow for the prototype to move into MVP phase, like I mentioned, but then kind of build up the supplier side, because I'll have to bring in the sales, some sales help. I've learned that the expos and engaging those. I've already engaged the top Disability Expo CEO for opportunity. So it'll build on sales and then also add to technology.
Hi, Andre. Thanks for your presentation. I was able to talk a little bit more about your team.
Yes. So I'm a solo founder, but I've been able to build a great network. My boss and advisor, Mindy Knable of Kaizen Health. So I get to work and learn at a company that's doing great things across the nation. Then the tech advisor I just brought in, JC Garrett, he really understands the space because he's worked on a couple of companies. He helped support it, Careport Health. So he understands that the element of a platform that's used in a similar setting. And then Piper, who was on there, she was my former therapist, and she's a professor of therapy. So great insight on how it goes day to day, and also the educational aspect. So, and then Rosetta, she's a healthcare strategist that focuses on the sales side to hospital when it comes to getting larger quantities of products and things for the actual organization, but also understands the personal aspect.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, great job, Andre. Thank you so much. And
You're
now
welcome.
we will invite our final founder to the stage. We have Jessica Bussert, who is with Wave Therapeutics.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me share my screen. So, hello, I'm Jessica Bussert. I'm a lifelong technologist, an emergency room nurse, and the founder of Wave Therapeutics. Along with my co-founder, Dr. Ricardo Vasquez, we've developed a suite of smart cushioning devices that prevents bed sores, saves lives, and substantially reduces healthcare costs. Dr. Vasquez would be with us today, but he's in surgery and his patient didn't want to put it on hold. So each year, 60,000 Americans die from bed sores. That's 1.5 times more people than die on the highways by car accidents. They impact the lives of 3 million more and cost the US economy almost $11 billion annually. Regulators say that bed sores are caused by neglect, and care facilities need to pay for treatment at an average cost of $44,000 per incident. These wounds are also the second leading reason facilities get sued for medical malpractice. They lose those lawsuits 87% of the time for damages that average $250,000. Our therapeutic wheelchair cushion combines multiple clinically proven therapies with our powerful analytics platform, making Wave the most effective bed sore prevention solution available. After launch, we'll expand our offerings to include full mattress toppers and items for the surgical suite. Next, we'll offer products for the automotive, airline, and consumer marketplace. Competitive products fall into 2 broad categories. First are simple static pads made of foam, gel, or air that really aren't much different than the chair cushion you're sitting on right now. Roho, the current leader, makes this type of device. At the higher end are expensive automated cushions that act like a teeter-totter under the user, rocking them from side to side. Aquila is the current leader in this space with their $4,000 air pulse cushion. Wave's cushion is more effective than anything else on the market, and our affordable price allows healthcare facilities to achieve a quick ROI and literally save billions in liability and treatment costs. For healthcare, my first career was in global IT, where I led European business consulting efforts for one of the largest tech companies in the world. Dr. Vasquez is a first-generation immigrant who brought himself through medical school, through scholarship and grants. For Wave, we've assembled the team of experienced and capable business leaders required to ensure our long-term success. Wave is led by a transgender woman, and our board and C-suite is made up of women, first-generation immigrants, and members of the LGBT community. We've created 8 generations of prototypes, built out our manufacturing processes, signed a major contract with the Veterans Health Administration, and shipped our first devices to their researchers and reviewers. Our SOM of 38 million comes from the VHA. Our SAM of 500 million comes from all US long-term care facilities. Finally, our domestic TAM of 2.5 billion comes from all wheelchair users in the US. We've also filed our IP in Canada, the UK, and European Union, and we plan to expand to those markets as soon as we've built our beachhead here. Wave is currently raising a $2 million seed round that will allow us to accelerate our MVP route to market, invest in the R&D needed to for our follow-on products, and pay for critical operating expenses. By initially focusing on the VHA, Wave expects to profitably sell 10,000 units within our first year of market.
Jessica, I'm sorry, I got to cut you off and bring the judges on so you can save the rest of it for the Q&A, okay?
Great.
Hi, Jessica. Great pitch. A clarifying question. So, if you're selling it, if it's somebody that is buying this for their own wheelchair, they're gonna have it themselves. But in the hospital setting, is it one per patient, or can you reuse it?
We propose one per patient, that it actually becomes the property of the patient, and it might be an admission requirement for long-term care facilities. But quite frankly, at our price point, we're less costly than the copay amount for the much more expensive alternating pressure devices.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
So follow up to that, how are you able to price so much lower than the competitors?
So as I mentioned, before healthcare, my first career was in engineering. And when we took on this project, one of the design specifications was to create a resilient, robust device that could be manufactured affordably enough that we could keep our price point very low. So that's been part of our specifications from the very get-go. Our COGS is expected to be $150 in volume.
Thanks, Jessica.
You're welcome.
Hi, Jessica. Great presentation. Thanks so much, and good to see you again. Wanted to maybe dive in a little bit on the competitive set. Wasn't fully clear, how the solution is different than the ROHO in particular, and maybe talk to us a little bit about how your clinical outcomes compare to the competitive set that you outlined.
Gotcha. So the ROHO and other static devices just sit there and they don't move at all. Their documentation says quite specifically that a patient needs to reposition throughout the day and do constant skin checks to avoid these kind of pressure injuries. So that's, our big differentiator is that we're an active process that not only changes up the pressure points, but promotes return blood flow to bring fresh oxygenated blood to the tissues. And then with our analytics platform, we provide the data that clinicians and patients need to provide better healthcare, and also the compliance data that they need to protect against frivolous lawsuits. And Rachel, I think you had another part of your question, and I apologize if I missed it.
No problem. It was a little bit about how, what clinical outcomes you've demonstrated in, the prevention of bed sores today.
Yes, thank you so much. So WAVE at this point in time has not completed our regulatory compliance testing. We expect to begin that in about 6 weeks, and it should take us 3 months. After that, we'll be able to put our cushion under the butts of patients in a safe, regulatory compliant method. So we'll get our own specific data at that point. But the 2 clinical therapies that we've used to deliver services in our product have each been individually tested extensively. So what we're asking you to accept is that chocolate tastes good, peanut butter tastes good. The combination of the 2 makes a delicious Reese's peanut butter cup that's going to be better. So that's what we're at right now.
I loved leaving us with that mental imagery, especially right around lunchtime. So I'm going to stop us there. Jessica, great job. Thanks so much. I don't envy the judges. This was a really great group of founders and pitches, and the judges are now going to leave us and go deliberate on who is going to be the winner. And I am so thrilled to invite Mike Pykosz from Oak Street Health, the CEO and co-founder. So Mike, if you can join me on, great. And I guess the judges are getting sent off, so I'll wait 1 second before we dive into everything.
Right.
So can you tell us a little bit about how you started Oak Street Health and like what inspired you guys to get going?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to listen to the group of founders in the competition. It does bring back memories of those days. So myself and our now Chief Operating Officer and co-founder Jeff Price were working at Boston Consulting Group, and we were working with a lot of different healthcares and a lot of especially health insurers. And what we kept hearing from them is just the need for higher quality primary care, and we'd hear examples from them of groups that were doing innovative things. And they were able to drive lower cost and higher care quality and better patient experience. And we kept hearing these similar themes. And one of the things we kept hearing was there's not enough of them. The other thing we kept hearing is they're not scalable. They only exist in Southern California or specific geographies. And whenever they tried to go somewhere else, it didn't work out as well. And so the kind of the knock on the space was, well, healthcare is local, it's not nationally scalable. And we said, that doesn't feel right to us. And we said, how do we create something that is a nationally scalable platform that brings the highest quality care, the best patient experience, and also saves society money? And we kept saying that we have this huge societal problem in healthcare, right? We spend way too much per capita, yet despite spending twice as much as any other industrialized country, we have worse health outcomes in those same countries. And patient experience is also poor along the way. So we have this big problem. It feels like there's these kind of niche companies that are doing really innovative things in local markets, and everyone wins, right? It is lower cost, it's higher quality, it's better experience. And so why isn't this the answer? And so at some point in time, we stopped kind of asking ourselves the question and said, let's go build it ourselves, and launched Oak Street.
And I'm curious kind of how long that journey took, because I don't know if you always knew you wanted to be an entrepreneur. I guess that's the first question. Did you know?
No, I had no idea I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I am the most risk-averse entrepreneur out there, I think. So Jeff and I were working together at Boston Consulting Group. We knew we wanted to do something that was, running primary care offices. So we signed up our third co-founder, who's now our chief medical officer, Griffin Myers, who's a doctor, to get more of that kind of pure clinical expertise. And we kind of worked on it nights and weekends. It took us over a year from kind of the first outline of what became Oak Street Health to actually going out there and pitching it and trying to raise money. And we had a lot of conversations along the way that were not terribly encouraging. We had, you've never started anything before, you've never run anything. This is a big undertaking. Why do you think you could do this? Others couldn't. We had a lot of times we almost gave up. Really glad we didn't. But yeah, it was definitely a journey.
Yeah, I can empathize a lot in the early days of building Give Forward. It took me 18 months to get up the courage to actually start it. And I think that happens when you don't think of yourself as an entrepreneur. And I guess one thing I hope people get from your story already, we're all just 2 minutes into it, is that sometimes when you identify an opportunity, like you create all these reasons, like, why not you, right? And you're like, well, if no one else is going to do it, wait, why not me? And so the fact that it took you guys a year is actually kind of reassuring to me that I wasn't alone in that, delayed. Do I have what it takes to make this happen? So I'm going off script as usual. Do you have, once you kind of get bitten by the entrepreneurial bug, I think often you start to recognize opportunities that are, you know, tangential or completely unrelated to the problem that you're solving. So I'm just curious, like, have you gotten bitten by any new ideas that are kind of like percolating that you can't shake?
You know, it is interesting, because one of the great things about Oak Street is there's just a massive market for what we do. And so we operate a little over 100 centers today. We're in 20 different states now, but the market size for what we do is 10,000 centers. And we're probably the biggest group in the space, and really the kind of one of the pioneers of the space. And so it's just a huge opportunity for us to grow doing what we do today and doing it over and over again and doing it better and better every year. And so it makes strategy real easy, right? do more and do better, right? But it also means there's not as much opportunity, again, to kind of do those new things in new areas. And I always enjoy that. So I don't get to do much of it myself, but I always love the opportunity to hear from great kind of people, founders with ideas. I love getting the chance to advise people. We were in a conversation earlier this week with someone who was trying to figure out, hey, how do we do this? And we focus at Oak Street on more urban and suburban areas. They were trying to figure out how you solve the same things for rural healthcare. That was so fun to brainstorm on that. So I love getting to use that part of my brain. You know, I don't necessarily have a lot of time to do
that. Maybe, you know, I don't know. Can you IPO a second time? I guess you probably can if you merge again or something. But speaking of, you guys are basically a super unicorn, right? I think one of the largest, if not the largest, IPO in Chicago. But as you indicated earlier on, like that support wasn't exactly there in the early days of kind of soft circling this idea. So I'm curious if you could share a little bit about like what the early fundraising was like for you locally, and kind of what resistance or support you were met with in those days.
Yeah, it's funny how things change, because when we first started Oak Street Health, it was right around the time right after the ACA or Obamacare passed, and there's a lot of funding cuts coming through to Medicare Advantage. And so at the time, that space was looked at as a poor, shrinking space, and there wasn't a lot of funding going through it. And so we were thinking about building primary care to really support patients on Medicare Advantage, and that just was looked at as like, really, that's the space you're going into. There wasn't a lot of money flowing into it at the time. It was kind of early, so we had to do a lot of education to people on the opportunity. We got told all the time, well, you've never run a company before, you've never run anything, you're a consultant, not an operator. I don't know what that means. I still don't know what that means, but we got told a lot of that kind of stuff, and you have to take a lot of rejection. And so we were able to raise money just really by just being persistent, and not necessarily friends and family, but like tangential people in our network that interested more people. And then once we kind of got the ball rolling, got people to support us, they'd introduce their friends who would support us. And so it took us a while to raise the capital, all from individual investors in our first round. And then, from there, we've gone through the whole gamut from there. We did private equity, and then obviously, entered the public markets a little over a year ago. So it's been a great journey, but it was definitely not a linear journey. That is for sure.
I'm curious if you had gotten like $3 million or $10 million right away. I'm not sure how much you needed in the initial days, but like, how would that have changed your perception of Chicago's funding ecosystem?
Well, our business, because it's bricks and mortar and because it's employing, was actually one of the challenges to get off the ground. Actually, it's pretty capital intensive, so we had to raise a fair amount of money to get it started. But very little of that money came from Chicago, which is disappointing to me. And a lot of it came from people in Nashville and other cities. And I think a lot of it because there's such a strong, or at the time there was a strong healthcare kind of ecosystem of companies in Nashville, and a lot of people weren't healthcare people, but knew someone who made money starting a healthcare company. So it felt natural for them. Where in Chicago, we just had more trouble getting traction from people who were willing to write personal checks to. To be fair, people, 3 guys in a PowerPoint presentation never run anything. So I understand why people didn't necessarily run to write personal checks, but we found a lot more people who were willing to take that leap and believe in us in other markets. And obviously Oak Street's done very well for our initial investors. I mean, I think our initial valuation was $20 million, and we're obviously our
much bigger than that. Yeah,
much bigger than that. Yeah, exactly. So they've done quite well. And I wish more of those people were in Chicago, which is home to me. So I do think it's something I think a lot about as I, kind of get more involved in this type of things. How do we keep? There's so many more resources in Chicago than there are in Nashville. But how do we connect those resources? How do we create that culture of of investment and innovation and entrepreneurship here? And sometimes it's such a big city that it can get overwhelming for people. So I think there's an opportunity there, and I think you're doing a great job making that happen.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's definitely very early stages, and what we're focused on is opening, the top of the funnel to the 70% of Chicago founders who've kind of been excluded from our ecosystem in the past. But in many ways, their family and friends are the ones that you're serving with Oak Street. And so I'm curious if you have any advice for other founders who are building to support an underserved market, especially in Chicago, knowing how difficult it is. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, but I think, and again, I was so excited about it. I'm so glad I'm not a judge, because I don't know how I'd make a choice between what was all phenomenal ideas. And what my biggest piece of advice is, don't give up, and don't let practical things get in the way. Because I think that was one of the biggest things for me when we first started Oak Street Health that was challenging. It was like there's all these things I just didn't understand that felt very difficult. How do you do payroll? Like, how do you sign a lease to get space? How do you set up a corporation, and how do you, like, all these SEC rules around raising capital and who can give money, and and all these things that just feel overwhelming. And look, I had a business background. I actually have a law background too, right? So this shouldn't have felt so scary, and it still felt scary to me. And so I think that those are the things that, again, just keep working to find resources around you that can help you navigate through those. Keep having conversations. You're going to get told no a lot. You're going to get told, that you're going to feel like there's nowhere to go, and just, don't stop. Right. And I've advised companies over the years, I think, were great ideas and would have been very successful. And the thing that would drive me nuts was they would just stop. It's like, we'll have more conversations. Well, we had 3 and we didn't get good feedback. I mean, no, like just keep going, revolve it. The other advice I would give is be very specific about what you're trying to do. I think sometimes I see pitches or I see things and it's like, it's very high level, like, we're going to solve this problem. That's great. Like, you need to solve a big problem. But like, okay, like, what are you going to do? And what is the next step you're going to take? That always is big to me, to see, like, not just where you're going to be in 5 years. That's important to understand the opportunity for the business, but where you're going to be in 5 days, where you're going to be in 5 months, right? Those are really huge steps. And I think those are sometimes the harder steps to take to get kind of that minimal viable product, to get those first customers, to find that go-to-market strategy actually works. So I that's probably my other advice, is just make it tangible for people.
I completely agree. When we are advising the founders before they come on stage, we do help them with their pitches, and we so often you hear they're like, and then when we get 1% of this $500 billion market, we're going to be so huge. And it doesn't work that way. It's like, how do you actually get customer number 5?
I love that they're thinking that way, though, because I also tell people, when we would say similar things, right, we're going to get this percentage of the 60 million Medicare participants out there, people would be like, yeah, that sounds like, a lot. And they would kind of write you off. And so, we haven't gotten it yet, but we are certainly on a path at Oak Street. And I still get some of those looks sometimes. So you really think you're going to get, I'm like, yes, we're going to do that, So
well, I think it should be your vision, but as the pitch, it needs to be, how are you going to get from this customer
you need
to that
we're going to
customer?
get here someday, and here's where we're going to be next week, right? Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, supposedly Jeff Bezos always had Amazon in mind, but he started with books, right? So if that's the case, then like, we can all have some version of that in starting our business.
That's a perfect example. Yeah.
So I'm curious. So they are really struggling to make a decision. I'm getting like all these text messages. If I look distracted, that's why. So much money and such a big prize and so exciting. So I have one more question I'm going to ask you. And given what you said about Nashville, but also what you know about Chicago and our amazing hospital systems and our research labs and everything, do you think we have the potential to be a health tech hub?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no place that has more potential than Chicago. And I think in some ways, actually, it's the same conversation about Chicago's potential as we were talking about some of these companies, right? How do we go from a place of potential and a vision, and like, what's the next thing we do? What's the next thing we do? What's the next thing we do? And I think in some ways, because there are so many resources and there's so many different things you can do, you can almost have that, paralysis of its, complexity and stakeholders, et cetera. And so, again, I love that you're doing this. And, how do you put together a group of people that are interested in investing in early stage healthcare companies and, have them see all these pretty quickly after, right? Or not too far. Like, because I think there's opportunities to really start catalyzing things in a big way. And again, I'm happy to brainstorm with you more on exactly how to do that, because you're right, every single piece is here, whether it's the funding environment, incredibly talented entrepreneurs, real problems to solve that can be a laboratory for those problems, first-class institutions, great talent, like everything is here in Chicago. We just need to put them together.
I can completely agree. And I think that we have all the potential. And I think that the 3 women on stage that have helped us as judges is a demonstration of how inclusive that that particular industry can be. And so I'm excited and nervous to hear who the winner is. If all the competitors or founders could come join us on the stage, that would be great. And then who's going to announce the winner?
That would be me. So once again, congratulations to everyone. We were so blown away and impressed by the high quality and level of your pitches and presentations. And we have about 1,000 more questions about all of your businesses and products. So feel free to kind of find us after for any kind of commentary. But again, really, really great job to all the founders, Jessica, Andre, Emmanuel, Osvaldo, and Isaac. Really terrific job today. So without further ado, we are excited to award the prize to ConnectCareHero. So congratulations, Osvaldo.
Thank you so much. I'm speechless right now, honestly. It's amazing pitches today. Everyone has amazing products, amazing visions to what they're solving. And I just, want to just give thanks again to the judges, but everyone, and also just dedicate all this work we're doing with ConnectCareHero because of what started it was my dad. He was a 40-year Mexican farmer. He passed at 85, and we dedicate what we do to kind of older adults like him, they're need culturally enriching programming. So thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, and thank you everyone who joined us today as a judge, and all the people who mentored all of these founders too. Thank you as always to Verizon for your constant support, and then of course Oak Street for making this largest prize yet on TechRise possible. We and founders, don't forget, you're welcome back anytime on stage, and this is not the end of our support for you. So congratulations, ConnectCareHero and Osvaldo, and then everyone else. We'll see you back on stage soon. Have a great weekend,
Everyone.
Mm-hmm.